So my first question is, how should I know when to walk away? Is from an idea or like a person or a partnership or even, a philosophy? Yeah, it's one that I've been struggling with for a little bit. So would love to hear your input from your experience.
So that's a great question. So I'll break this down into two different phases. I'll say there's the first phase when you're starting a business, right? The idea or the value proposition that you're offering the market. That's one phase. That's one way to analyze it. And then there's another phase when you're running a business or you want to create a new vertical, right? You want to create a new product line, service line, etc. There's two different ways I'll analyze that. The first one, when you're starting and running a business, I would say there's times to put things down, and then you can decide later on to whether to pick it up again. Sometimes it's you're not ready, meaning you don't have the right resources. We need to develop our competence, not enough bandwidth. So it can be that. And sometimes it's the market isn't ready, which means there's some ideas that people had in the 70s that weren't plausible to the 90s, that wasn't plausible to that technology took fit. It can't happen because the technology or the infrastructure isn't there for it. But then there's other times when the market doesn't want that right now, or may never want it. Several different ways to look at it. On that, one of the biggest things to do is if it's really going wrong, you just start giving it less attention. I don't want to ever tell people to put something down forever. It's more so saying, okay, is this in my top 3 priorities? First of all, if it's not in your top 3 priorities, I say wipe it off your list. In life, top 3 priorities change over time. Then I would say, am I getting enough traction for what I need in my life now? Right? So that's outside market forces. So do I have enough to take care of myself, pay rent, take care of my home, etc.? There was a period where I had to put something down because I had a team of 10, 11 people. I could not afford the metro for myself and say, hey, I need to go and rebuild my revenue. Just, it's not feasible to continue doing. So one, is it still feasible with the resources you have? Now I'm going to shift over to another side, which is if you're already doing something, you're looking at a new product line, same principle. Is it in your top 3 priorities? Because of potential, because of what it can do for you now, because of however you want to structure life, is it in your top 3 priorities? And then it's, do you have enough factors to know this is not working? Have you tried different people to do this to help you? For example, we're trying to go into federal contracting for a myriad of things for one of my businesses. And we hired 3 different people for this role to help us win contracts, and it was not working. So after 3 people, it's like, okay, we tried this for 6 to 7 months. I'm paying payroll for 3 people for 6 to 7 months. This is not working. And is this where we're getting the best ROI? So I put that on the shelf. I'm still coming back to that, and I came back to that. But I need to put this on the shelf because right now I don't see this turning around until something has to change. And I think that was my leadership, the people we hired. I think it was our strategy. And I started realizing, okay, these are where we need to build up competency before we go and try this again. And then when we try this again, we might find there's another hurdle. But those are some of the things I'll say to look at when considering that.
I appreciate the answer. I would love to hear a little bit more on kind of both sides of it. So when you were talking about the factors, elaborate a little bit more on the timeline of that. Because when you talk about like coming to the conclusion that I can't afford the metro for myself, or coming to the conclusion that I have these people on payroll and this isn't working, it's something that I've struggled with tremendously, of almost ignoring the factors until I get to that point. Could you talk a little bit more about your experience and what were some of the signs before you got to that, okay, something needs to change, this is too much?
It's interesting because entrepreneurs, we do like crazy things. So there's always
Yeah.
signs. There's signs, hey, you really shouldn't do this. So when you ask me some of the signs, it's like, which sign should I have paid attention to? When you're changing the business model multiple times, constantly we have to hear tons of no's, hundreds of no's, right? But do you have to continuously change the business model to make it work? Or are you constantly changing the customer profile without getting new sales? You start getting traction, but are you constantly changing and iterating it, but you're not seeing any traction or substantial traction? And then that's where it's like, hey, this isn't working. I keep on trying different things and it's not working. So can you continue putting all your eggs in this basket? Now, how long to do that? That depends on your financial bandwidth. So financially, where are you going and where's that red line? Do you have dependents you have to take care of, whether it's younger siblings, children, parents, yourself, etc.? I could do that at that time because I was single. I can do that where I don't have to worry about those things. And if you have a family, it's a different balance. Other factors, what's your energy level? Can you continue pushing through? Are you losing motivation, and is it affecting your health? And And I say that it's a two-edged sword, right? Because entrepreneur is also not healthy in some ways because there's times where I was just eating the cheapest of foods to make it through whatever, just to be okay, I can eat this, I can afford whatnot. So it's like sometimes we harm ourselves in a way or we don't take care of
Mm,
ourselves. Are you seeing it impact? Are you looking in the future and you're really not seeing something and you've tried it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and really not seeing an end to that road and saying, okay, for me, it was longer than that, but okay, I've been doing this a year and a half, 2 years. Is it time to put this on the shelf and come back? And that's
mm,
what I did. I realized, so I'm an attorney. Out of law school, I did not go get my license, right? I went straight into my startup. All of my friends would say, no, that's crazy. You need to go into law, get money, at least go get your license. And so that's how I did. I reset by going, I got my license, I practiced a
mm.
little bit, regained my cash, and then jumped right back into the entrepreneur pool. But it's something kind of reset. That's why I say put it on a shelf. It doesn't mean you quit it, but you can put it on a shelf and say, hey, I'm coming back to entrepreneurship or I'm coming back to this specific idea.
That's a fantastic outlook.